What is up, YouTube? This is SSJ, another YouTube video, and here with me I have fellow YouTuber Jonan Level Fox. If you want to introduce yourself.
How's it going, Bird? Joe Little Fox here, and I'm with SSJ and Namikaze. How's it going?
I'm doing
Anybody
good.
talking
Yeah,
about
so
some Devil May
we're
Cry?
yes, so we're here to talk about the Netflix Devil May Cry, and we both had made YouTube videos talking about this show because, as you know, the show has kind of been under fire lately. Mixed as far as reviews have gone. There was kind of talks about whether or not it was going to get a season two, but I kind of already knew it was going to get a season two, and I believe it was yesterday. It was announced that it got a season two. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. I mean, you know how Netflix is with the whole, like, what they do lately, where they, like, put out, like, a couple of episodes. Like, this we got 8, and now it's like, oh, the second half of, like, season 1, pretty much. That's how I call it. But, you know, that's to be expected.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are trying to say that people like us need to just accept the show for what it is, and that the show, we should be glad that we got Devil May Cry content. What are your thoughts on those comments?
Yeah, as far as those comments go, I mean, I haven't really seen much of it, but yeah, I can see definitely like people like, kind of shilling for some of these guys or taking up for the writers and all that stuff that kind of just put out their worst, you know what I mean? And didn't put out their best when they could have done better. But, I'm just like, yeah, but we could probably, do a lot better. That's why we're criticizing it because we want to see Devil May Cry kind of flourish. You know how it is?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Because I was telling people like Jay Leno, who saw our both of our videos, I had said, well, we don't make these videos to criticize because we like being negative. We would like these things to do well, and if it actually did do well, we would be making like a actual good review on the show and being a lot more happy about the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think? And do you think Adi? I think it's Adi Sinkar,
Yeah,
the
Adi
creator.
Shankar.
Adi Shankar, do you think he'll listen to anybody like us or anybody on YouTube that left these sort of reviews and any of the criticisms? Do you think he'll take into account for the second season?
Honestly, probably not. I mean, as far as the second season goes, they probably already have it like already kind of done. So it's just probably a matter of time of just them releasing it. So I think he already has some plans of what he's going to do with like Virgil and Moondis and all that stuff, and maybe with Dante and Lady. But yeah, no, he's probably going to keep doing, it, especially what he did to that ending and stuff. I was like, yeah, no, there's no. He has full, complete control of what he's doing. So no editor, none of that stuff. So he's going to definitely full speed ahead, whatever with this.
Right. Now, as far as the ending go, I've seen people try to argue and say things like, well, Dante is still just getting the grasp of his demon powers, and he wasn't as strong as, like, let's say Devil May Cry, like in this video here. But I still think that something like the lady, I think she shot him in the neck, the back of his neck with a needle, and that's how he got knocked out. I
Yeah,
think
she
that
like,
Dante.
oh no,
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was about to say, yeah, she like tranquilized him or something like that.
Yeah, she tranquilized him, but you would think somebody like Dante would have enhanced senses. It's almost like the White Tiger situation from Daredevil Born Again. You would think somebody like him would be able to tell like she's about to pull something on him and maybe move out the way. What do you
Yeah,
think?
and there was like several times in the show, like in the beginning, you know how like when all those mercenaries about to show up on Dante's shop and stuff, Dante was able to was like, yeah, so there's not like 50 guys out out back trying to like take my necklace and all that stuff. Like he knew exactly like 50 dudes and stuff was out there, and I'm like, so lady just all of a sudden just coming up behind him with malicious intent managed to just get one over on Dante, and it kind of reminds me of like Devil May Cry 2 where like Lucia, I wouldn't say she tried the same thing, but you remember how like in Devil May Cry 2, like Lucia wanted Dante to try and kill her, so she tried to attack Dante out of the blue, and Dante like swiftly dodged, and then like he pulled his gun on her and everything. So I'm just saying that could have been how if Lady actually tried that.
Right. And speaking of Lucia, I did catch her cameo. I believe it was the first episode. They were capturing mercenaries. I believe
Yeah,
she was caught and they just threw her to the ground.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm actually glad to see Lucia and stuff because it's been a long time. It's like it honestly feels like they kind of neglect her inside Don't Make Cry the most. But I mean, the way how she got captured though, I'm like, nah, there's no way, no human, just like yeah, military guys are gonna just all of a sudden capture Lucia. Like, nah.
How do you feel about the government slash military being used within Devil May Cry, like this Netflix universe? Because I think it kind of doesn't make sense. I feel like they're trying to do like a Suicide Squad situation. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I do see potential in it, but yeah, I mean, well, just based on what we got and all that stuff with what they've been like doing with Lady and stuff, trying to justify, oh, well, this is why Lady's able to do this, that, and the third. But we'll talk about Lady when we get there. I don't hate it. I just,
Right.
I'm like, it's potential, but they shouldn't be better than Dante or have better equipment than whatever Dante can handle because we've seen characters in Don't May Cry that are like, intelligent that Dante works with, whether it be like Nell Goldstein, Nico,
Hmm.
Nell's granddaughter, and
Yeah.
yeah, there was a third person. Well, it'll come to me like yeah, Arius actually, Arius, yeah,
Oh
because I
yeah,
think yeah he's
Arias.
right. And he's got that corporation and stuff, so they might do something with him in the second season actually. So he was one of the characters that I kind of was looking forward to seeing, but how that ended, I was like, all right, you guys kind of took me out of it though.
Now, despite the facts that we had issues with a lot of things in this show, would you say that this show was 100% a waste of time? Because I don't think it was 100% a waste of time. I still had enjoyment out of certain scenes and how they displayed Dante's abilities. No, just certain things Dante did, like when he was riding the motorcycle and he used his motorcycle kind of similar to the Cavalier weapon in Devil May Cry 5, and then took those two twins weapons and then used it against them. What do you
Yeah, that
think?
was pretty. Yeah, that was pretty cool, especially like when half his face blew up, and he like grew
Yeah,
it back. Yeah, yeah, that was pretty tight and all that stuff. But I will
yeah, and I
definitely point out something.
will still give credit to like the violence.
Yeah, yeah, that was
Oh,
cool.
what
I
were
ain't
you
gonna lie.
saying?
Oh no, I was gonna point something out that I don't think a lot of people will notice, but the twins Agni or Rudra. I even forgot to mention this in my review actually, but in Devil May Cry 3, they don't actually have heads. The back of the swords is
Yeah,
supposed to be the heads. So yeah, because remember the swords are supposed to be talking or whatever.
I believe the heads were like on the hilt of the sword, I believe, or
Yeah,
something
you're
like
right.
that. And like the
Yeah,
bodies, they were a lot more intimidating in Devil May Cry 3. And they gave them like a weird British accent for some reason in this Netflix adaptation and made them a lot weaker. They were just, for whatever reason, not able to be taken out by Dante, but Lady took him out quite easily.
yeah. I can't remember because I think one of them got killed. And then when Dante was in Double Trigger or whatever, and he was like trying to get the hang of it and crashed into the building or whatever, then Lady like shot and killed I think it was Rudra with the bullet or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah. And Dante, that's who I've been wanting to talk about for the most as well too. So Dante's character portrayal as well as his voice acting. I don't know if you agree with this take, but ever since the first episode, or ever since actually the first trailer, all I could hear was Nero's voice slash Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach. And then, of
yeah,
course, if you've seen any of the new Dragon Ball, he voices Broly, which I'm
yeah,
not a
yeah. I
fan
heard
of.
because yeah, they
But
replaced Vic Mignogna with Johnny on Bosch.
with Johnny Young Bosch, yeah. So I
Yeah,
was like, like everybody else gave it a chance, and I'm just like, nah, this still doesn't work for me. Even when he says jackpot and things like that, and there was a scene where I believe he was about to go Devil Trigger, then went Devil Trigger. They had Nero's Devil Trigger theme playing, so
yeah,
it
that
seems
was
a
funny
lot
to me.
more Nero than Dante.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I kind of disagree with it. I mean, I'm not saying it's a baseless or anything. When I think of like Nero or Ichigo and like Johnny Young Bosch's voice, I think of like because you know how like they're kind of short tempered characters and stuff, or they're always yelling and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dante, he wasn't really doing a whole lot of that. And the way how I see it with like Nero and Ichigo, I mean, there are a little bit of similar archetypes to Dante, especially Nero, since he is Dante's nephew after all. So he's kind of like the modern teenage or younger Dante and stuff currently, but still, I think it can work. But if they really wanted to like do something, because I mean, I guess it's a little bit lazy that okay, well you just went with Johnny Young Bosch, but I mean, it could have been interesting if you actually went back to like the first two voice actors that voiced Dante from like Devil May Cry 1 and 2.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm thinking too. Actually, when it comes to voices, like I'm very good and I pick up on it with my ears pretty well. So somebody like Johnny Young Bosch, I've heard him for many years. I believe he was the Black Power Ranger at first, and
Yeah,
then
he was
he started
Adam.
voice acting later. But I've seen Bleach, and he's Ichigo. He's Ichigo, and then he started doing other characters. I believe he voiced the one character off of yeah,
Yeah, because he was Vash the Stampede.
yeah, Vaster Stampede on off of Trigun. Like
Yeah,
he sounds just like Ichigo too. So
I just now realized that.
yeah. So like to me, as good as he is at certain voices, like he's not able to do other voices that are outside of that character
Who does it?
archetype. Because like Dante to me, like when Ruben Langdon voiced him in Devil May Cry 3 and 5, like that's just the perfect Dante. And he was two different ages as well too. He just
Yeah,
captures that voice well. But somebody like Johnny Young Bosch, like he does well with somebody like Nero. So like every time I just heard him speak as Dante, I was just like, Nero, Nero.
yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, because yeah, we're used to Ruben Langdon as like Dante because he voiced Dante from like 3, 4, 5, and then the Devil May Cry anime and all this stuff. So it's kind of just hard to imagine somebody else, replacing him.
Yeah. Or like somebody like, let's say, I don't know, Chuck Hubbard, he voices Android 17 and he voices Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho. But even though those are
Oh,
two completely different characters, like I'm still able to tell right from the get go, okay, that's Chuck Hubbard because he has that calm, collective voice, but he could also do that crazy voice at the same time.
yeah. Or like Justin Cook and yeah, with Yusuke and
Oh
Raditz and stuff.
yeah, Yusuke and
But I
Raditz.
mean,
When he screams, you could tell that's Yusuke slash Raditz. I could tell that's Justin Cook.
yeah. But I mean, but since Raditz isn't featured a whole lot since obviously died off in the beginning. Yeah, we're like, okay, yeah, that's Yusuke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's kind of how it was for me with Johnny Young Bosch's Dante. Now
yeah,
everybody else was okay. I mean, the Rabbit, I thought his voice actor was really great, but I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like I don't know if you agree with this take, but I feel like once they revealed his true form and then he transformed, I feel like they decided to go full Resident Evil, where he just transforms into this giant boss for Dante to take out.
Yeah, I didn't completely hate it. Like, I mean, he's voiced by Hon Lee. So Hon Lee, in case because I mentioned before, excuse me, he's the voice of Master Splinter from the 2012 TMNT cartoon. So I didn't know
Yeah,
that
and
until
that
somebody
was one of
pointed
my
out. I was like,
favorite TMNTs.
yeah, he had the best Master Splinter voice. I'm like, wow, he really does sound like that Wise Sensei guy. So the
He
White Rabbit,
did.
yeah, he's voiced by him and stuff, and he was a cool character and a cool villain. I mean, yeah, when they revealed his origin and stuff, it was like, oh, he's a human and stuff, and he's been wearing a mask, and well, I didn't know how I forgot how he got his powers because I was just checked out, but he was using demon blood to kind of enhance his abilities. And I was like, oh, okay, but I would have been fine with him just being just a standard demon and stuff, and maybe he
Just a
just
standard demon.
yeah, and he just wants to turn against Mundus or something like that versus, well, I'm human and this whole sympathetic route with the demons and all that, which got all weird and political. But yeah, that's another
Yeah, what
story.
did you think about that anyway? The whole when they try to switch it so where demons are sympathetic and not all demons are bad and some are good, and they try to turn them into like refugees.
Well, at first I wasn't adamant against it. Like in that one scene with like Lady and stuff when she was saved by that family and stuff, and she pulled the gun on them. I did kind of feel like that was kind of in character, and that wasn't half bad because there have been demons inside Devil May Cry that actually are like morally good, or but it's an outlier though. It's not like it's like a civilization or whatever, or all these people and stuff like that. But I was like, all right, whatever. I can probably accept this, but then what they did towards the end and all that stuff, where they're like trying to like make the humans seem like they were demonic, political, anti-American Christianity and all that stuff, and the demons are, what I mean, and trying to correlate them to like Palestinians and stuff. That was like, this
Yeah,
isn't a
that was
good
weird.
look, right? Like
That
this
wasn't a
ain't,
good look.
yeah. That this is like, all right, this ain't even Devil May Cry anymore. This is like something else.
Yeah, like I think they should have just, because they had the violence there, they had the blood and violence there, because that's what Devil May Cry is kind of known for. Even though in the game is the enemies just turn into red orbs when you kill them, but still it's known for the violence. They had the violence there. If you would have went into the demon lore, it would have been so magical. I didn't care for this political human BS that they tried to go with. If they would have
Yeah.
went more into like a demonic, lore, it could have been something more like in the line with Inuyasha. What do you think?
Oh yeah, that's true. Um.
Because like
Yeah. I don't.
demons, they don't have to be like, I know that some demons are like, some demons aren't going to be absolutely inherently evil, like somebody like Sparta who rebelled against Mundus in the past. But
Right.
I don't think that they should have it to where demons originated from humans. Like some demons are just going to be just inherently there and wanting power, lusting for chaos. But you can have some humans be evil to the point that they turn into demons. That's what they should have went with. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds like some Devilman type of stuff, from like Go Nagai. But I mean, I understand they were trying to also do like Lady's character arc, where how Lady was like back in Devil May Cry 3 with her dad and stuff, where Arkham. The whole point is like, yeah, he may be human, but he can be as evil as any demon. And somebody like Dante, he may be half demon, but he still has a good heart and all that stuff.
Yeah, but they killed him off though, because
Yeah.
the story that they kind of set up with White Rabbit. Now that I've replayed Devil May Cry 3, White Rabbit's story is kind of basically just Arkham's story from Devil May Cry 3,
Yeah,
where he's
pretty
trying to
much.
just get the two amulets and open the portal to hell from Dante and Virgil's amulets and use
Oh, yeah,
that to
that's true.
empower himself.
Yeah, because Arkham did appear in the show, but I'm like, I don't even know what they're gonna do with him now if he's still around.
Because
Because
yeah, oh, is he still around? Because I thought he died from the
no,
flashback
from the little
scene
fire.
after.
Well,
Yeah, did he die
I
from
don't.
the fire?
I don't think he died because you remember, like in the games, Arkham has like a some burn marks or a scar on his face and all that stuff.
Right.
So he's alive, but that's probably like the last time like Lady saw him before, like yeah, he
I
disappeared or
see.
whatever. So who
So
knows?
we
They might
might
bring
see
him
him in
back in
season
later.
two.
Yeah. So that's on the table. But I'm just like, I mean, but this is his human form though, like with the bald look and everything, and the multicolored eyes, which for some reason they gave that to Lady's mom instead of Arkham until later. But and the clown, the jester thing is supposed to be Arkham's real demon form.
Yeah. Or I thought it was like a split personality thing or something like that. The jester
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, sort of. I think he has control over it. Well, definitely, but when he's definitely the jester, he's definitely showing off all of his powers and stuff like that. And as Arkham, he's still got the powers, but he's just like, not really showcasing it like that though.
Right. Okay. So we might even see him show up in season two at some point.
Yeah.
Now, Virgil, what do you think about how they did Virgil? Because at the last, I didn't mention it in my video because I didn't really think it was that important. What do you think about how they did Virgil? How Virgil was basically already the Nilo Angelo, and we saw him judgment cut some of those guys at the last scene, and then he basically transformed himself back into Virgil and said that he was coming back.
Yeah. I mean, what I think they might be doing with Virgil is I feel like they're going to turn him into some kind of like vigilante type character or something like that. But I'm just a little bit like, wait, but he's supposed to be like at least Virgil first before he turns into Nilo Angelo, because Nilo Angelo, that's not just like a double trigger form for Virgil. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not. It's more of like a straight up mutation, because once after Devil May
Yeah,
Cry 3, Virgil, he fought Mundus. Mundus captured Virgil, brainwashed him, mutated him. That's why Virgil's skin and everything looks all like that inside Devil May Cry 1. And he's like actually much taller than Dante, like probably like 7 feet tall or something like that. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, he's like completely unrecognizable. Like even Dante didn't even know that was Virgil until when he picked up his amulet. He was like, "Oh shit, that's Virgil." You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
He shed the tear.
exactly. So I was like, that's a little bit of it's a stretch. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are doing here. And plus, I can't really tell if Virgil is actually like brainwashed or not either. You know, like, or if he's
Yeah,
working
that's
for
what makes
Mundus
it all
willingly.
confusing because I
Right.
don't think he would work for Mundus. It wouldn't make sense. And that's what I agree with some of the other fans that have said this in other videos. I don't think that it would make sense to have Virgil willingly work for Mundus, somebody that your father's mortal enemy, and your father is somebody that you respect dearly, the son of Sparta. You respect him. So I
Yeah.
don't, it doesn't make sense for him to willingly work for Mundus unless he's, I don't know if he's
Right.
just doing it temporarily for power.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like they got Virgil looking like Sasuke or something, working for
Yeah,
Orochimaru.
it's like a Sasuke and a Orochimaru situation.
Exactly. So, like, I mean,
I
and
don't
I
want them to
just
do
saw
Virgil like
on
that.
exactly. Like, I mean, I just saw on Twitter too that Andy Shankar, he said something about Virgil's supposed to be like, well, he's an anti-hero, and I'm like, Virgil's. I mean, he kind of is, but he's also not. He's more of a chaotic neutral type character. You know what I mean? Or kind of like low key a villain, because Virgil has killed innocent people before, or he's caused like different types of so and so. But he was like, no, but wanting absolute power is the ultimate form of like I don't know heroism or whatever he said. I was like, no, no. Virgil wants all that because
Yeah.
well self gain and all that stuff. And I mean, in a way, he also wants to make up for his weakness for not saving his mom too. But still, I'm like, nah, Virgil. I mean, he tried to kill Dante. He ripped off Nero's arm. I'm like, yeah, no, he ain't. I don't know about no anti-hero, but okay.
Yeah. Like, if he's talking about just the Virgil character in general being just a straight up anti villain, then yes. Or anti hero, then he would be incorrect to just straight up call him that because, like you said, he is more of a chaotic. He does have more of a chaotic evil, and he is quite psychotic in the fact that he's always trying to kill his brother, or he ripped off Nero's arm with no regard, and he's
Yeah,
willing to kill innocent humans and demons to fulfill his goal. So while he's not one of those villains that's out to outright destroy the world, he's just one of those villains that's lust for power. But
right.
after I'd say like Devil May Cry 5, he's come to his senses and he's seen that like what he's done to the world is he's caused too much damage, so
Yeah, like we see
he
is
tried
like
to turn a
his
new leaf.
human half like V and stuff. Like V had those regrets and was like, I gotta fix this. I gotta undo this mess and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
So
plus in the
he
show,
is the type that is
oh,
willing to change.
I say, and plus, I mean, they just showed Virgil like literally killing human soldiers and stuff like that. Even though you can be like, oh well, oppressive or whatever, but still, he just kills some human soldiers and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what an
Yeah, and
anti-hero would
Dante wouldn't
do,
do that.
right? But I mean, how Dante's characterized in the show, I don't mind it too much because I mean, he's not like straight up like when he's fighting other humans and stuff like that. You see he's holding back or he's like not trying to like take anybody out lethally and stuff. And just trying to play it off like, well, it's a challenge or whatever.
Yeah. So Lady, I wanted to kind of wait on her. So we'll talk about Lady's characterization. She had an episode dedicated to her, which I skipped initially, but I did go back and rewatch just to get some clarity on some things in the story and on how she relates to the White Rabbit. And what are your thoughts on how they portray Lady and her personality? Because a lot of fans think that this is the ultimate badass, and this is this is the like Adi Sinkar, I believe he made a post on Twitter saying that this is comic accurate, this is game accurate, this is how Lady is supposed to be portrayed. What are your thoughts?
Well, for a while, and this this is actually up until episode 8. I mean, I tolerated Lady and stuff, and I was like, well, she is kind of a little bit like I wouldn't. Well, she don't curse obsessively like she did in the show, but she's a little foul mouth, a little tomboyish and stuff. In the games, Lady is supposed to be a little bit more alluring, where not a lot of people know about her background like that. You know, even her own name, Mary. Like the only person that really knew her name like that was Arkham, and sort of Dante. But you know, from then on there, you know, Lady started going with the name Lady and stuff because once she killed her dad, she left her past behind her and stuff. So that's what makes her a little bit kind of like a mysterious, alluring kind of character and whatnot. You know, even how she was like
Yeah.
introduced and stuff. Like people were like, well, not people, but you know, she was just this mystery. She was like, who is this, and what does she got to do with this whole thing? And then you know, we learned that out later. Here, we kind of already yeah, we kind of already know like ladies. Oh, her background. She's working for a military. Her full name is Mary Arkham and all that stuff, which a lot of people know and stuff like that, etc. So yeah, yeah.
I still
So
think I would have preferred the original portrayal where Dante happens to stumble up upon to her, and there she is being mysterious with her two guns. Then she pulls a gun on him and then quickly dives down off of a cliff. But then you see her in the next scene taking out demons by herself.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I definitely.
And
I
I
mean,
didn't
of
think
course,
of her being a girl boss either back then either, because back then especially it was cool to see like it's good that I'm mentioning this now too, because like it was back then cool to see a lot of female like badass characters. I'd say Lady and somebody like Trish falls into the realm of a character like Ada from Resident Evil, where like there's something about them that makes me more interested in this character because this character is just so mysterious, and the fact
right.
that you get to play as the character later on too, even further adds to that fact too. And the
Yeah,
character
especially with
didn't come off as like this aggressive, like "oh, I'm better than you" type character. She came off as like "oh, I can hold my own, but I'm here to back you up at the same time." Leon or Dante, what do you think?
yeah, that's exactly how Lady is and stuff. You know, I mean, like I said in the Netflix anime, her portrayal. It's not like at first I didn't hate it, and her banter with Dante is, and to me, is a little bit on point because you know, Lady be like, oh well, a little bit like this harsh on Dante or whatever, or a little bit defensive whenever he be like leaving some kind of like snarky comment and stuff like that to her. But it's just like, um, it's just more so like how they like what they were doing with the character though, where they just made her a little bit too important with the whole, oh, well, this is her squad or whatever. She's got all this weapons. Um, you even said that she was acting a lot like Amanda Waller and stuff in a way,
Hmm.
which, yeah, that's kind of on point. She does act like a little bit like Amanda Waller. Like she got all this technology and stuff. I mean, yeah, Lady's a little bit of a tech savvy character, you know, for Colleen M weapon and stuff, that good rocket launcher and her like machine guns and some handguns, but that's about it, you know. And then her acrobatics, but she wasn't really doing all that inside this in this show.
Right, right. So I'd say, and I'm sure you'd agree too, I'd say if they cut back on the cussing and if they cut back on the girl boss, then maybe she'd be a little bit more tolerable.
Right. Because when I first saw her design, I didn't exactly hate it. I was like, well, well, actually, no, I take that back. I did. I was like, she's a little androgynous looking and masculine. That's my red flag right there for this show. But I'm still gonna watch it because it's
Right.
still kind of like, And then I'm like, okay, it's starting to grow on me. I'm like, I don't completely hate it. And the military background thing, this isn't all that bad, but it's like they kind of made like they just gave Lady that Jill Valentine treatment where now in recent games they're trying to make Jill Valentine this killer whoop bitch and stuff basically, and that's what they're doing with Lady and all these other characters and stuff. And Jill, compared to like Lady, Jill is supposed to be a very calm, sophisticated, nurturing character and stuff. Lady, I can kind of believe that to a degree, to some extent. Okay, well, she's a little mean spirited and stuff like that here and there. She's Dante's always owing her money and stuff, that kind of thing. Where she always got him in debt. That is Lady's character, but it's just like, but she is kind of a little annoying in this show. Like, just yeah,
Right. I don't want people to think that we're pansies or anything like that, but even other people that did reviews online thought that, yeah, the cussing is mostly by her and it's way too excessive. Like every sentence is almost mother effer this and f this and goddamn this. And it's just like, dang, girl, does Dante have to
exactly.
wash your mouth out with that super soap style?
Hope I hope so. Like, man, especially when she was explaining that Sparta story and stuff, which that's kind of crazy how Lady knows more about Sparta than Dante in this version.
Then Dante. Yeah. Now, I also still also kind of stood by what I said. I thought that the Sparta stuff was kind of cool, but in hindsight, looking back into it, it's kind of lame how they've made it seem like Sparta kind of just disappeared and split the two worlds apart because he didn't want demons and those humans that were refugees because they kind of switched that apart. Like it just kind of made it kind of all weird to me. So it kind of made it
Yeah,
seem like Sparta was the one that was at fault here, and it was his fault, even though
yeah. I think
the war was started by Mundus in the flashback.
Yeah, I think that's probably the White Rabbit, maybe victim blaming, I guess, because I mean that is kind of the actual lore. The refugee thing aside, just because Sparta did divide hell from Earth and all that stuff originally with the Yamato, and then later on he settled down, married Eva, had Dante and Virgil. Then he left and died off screen or something like that. They don't really go into what much detail what happened around that era when he had Dante and Virgil. So yeah, we don't know. For all we know, they could probably write in and be like, "Oh, Sparta's actually been alive this entire time. We just didn't know it or something." But yeah,
Dang, that would be crazy because I know that if we're going by like Devil May Cry 5's continuity, Sparta was alive long enough to at least help take part in raising Dante and Virgil. He was at least alive long enough to give them both their swords that they use today, the Rebellion and the Yamato, respectively.
oh yeah, yeah, he was definitely alive around then. Like the way how I see it, like he was alive, but he had disappeared or he left a little bit before the attack on their house and everything. And I think Dante and Virgil were like 8 years old when that happened. Um, you know,
Yeah,
so it
yeah,
definitely had, yeah, because I remember watching somebody, I think it was Dante's rant room. He was talking about how like basically Sparta shit, like he trained Dante and Virgil and stuff. So he like Dante, yeah, so it makes no sense why he doesn't know Sparta. And I'm like, I don't think Sparta trained Dante and Virgil specifically. He gave them their weapons definitely at some point before they were 8 or something like that, since that's their inheritance. But exactly train, I mean, not really if they're not able to take on some demons that killed their mom or something like that. But we don't know we haven't seen the full context like that. So, you know,
yeah. I think what it was is that he gave them their weapons, but then he had to leave, and that was a little bit before that attack came to their house, so he didn't even have time to train them. He had just given them their swords.
right. And I think Dante and Virgil, I mean, they probably have trained before, definitely, but they always have like this kind of innate like talent and stuff to be able to like do stuff because they're the sons of Sparta and all that, and they got this demonic blood and blase blase. So Yeah,
Right. And I'll at least give the show credit for that. During the flashback between young Dante and Virgil, it showed them using their powers when they were having like a, you know how brothers fight each other, and they both
right.
pushed each other around, and like it did a lot of damage to the house. And the mom Eva had to eventually come by and stop them and say, "Boys, calm down. Boys, calm down."
Yeah, I love those flashbacks, and those are like that's definitely something I definitely will give the show. Like one of its pros is that it definitely gives us a lot, like some context that we probably haven't really gotten from the games and stuff that we can kind of a little bit apply here. Which it's a good thing we have a show for that. It's just that what they did with the other stuff is just my major problem. With this, I'm like, perfect. Love the flashbacks. Love this action. Dante, I'm cool with him as a character. I find him likable. He's a good lead. So on and so forth.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So we'll kind of wrap this up. We won't make it too much longer. But do you have any closing thoughts for this Devil May Cry Netflix series, and what are your expectations? Because we're obviously locked in now, since we've already seen the 8 episodes and we given our reviews. We're fans of Devil May Cry. We were kind of disappointed in it with certain things that they added to the show, but we did like other things in it. So what are some things that you're expecting in this season too?
Well, I don't know what to really expect from here on out. It's definitely going to take quite a turn because you remember the DMC reboot and stuff. It kind of seems like they went with like that kind of ending where like, oh, all the demons became aware and all that stuff inside the human. It feels like that with this show with that ending and all that stuff. Then, as far as how they're writing Dante, where he doesn't know that he's like, oh, half demon, and he doesn't know about Sparta, it kind of feels like, honestly, and he also doesn't have Ebony and Ivory, his twin, pistol guns and all that. So I'm like, okay, so
Yeah,
they're
the
kind of
Ebony and
writing
Ivory. I forgot to mention that.
exactly. It kind of feels like Dante's like Tony Redgrave, actually, like back when he was like that persona and all that. Because when he was Tony
Yeah,
Redgrave,
his character before Devil May Cry.
exactly, like when he was Tony Redgrave, it feels like because as Tony Redgrave, he had amnesia, so he didn't remember a whole lot of stuff like that. I mean, yeah, he had some nightmares about stuff like his mom and that some of that probably that PTSD and all that stuff, but he probably didn't like. I don't. It's because it's been a while since I read the novel. It's been like 2 years, but yeah, he had amnesia and stuff until later on towards the end. He was like, "My name's Dante," and then they rung like thunder and all that stuff. And he was like, "Okay, this is the Dante we know now from like Don't Make Cry 3 and all that stuff from the start." Yeah, so yeah, that's how I feel like they were writing Dante as Tony Redgrave, where he's not at full power yet. Then my recommendation for like fans and stuff,
Gotcha.
honestly, I'm just like, honestly, this isn't really a good entry to get into Devil May Cry. So what I kind of suggest is just watch clips online on YouTube or something like that versus like watch the show because how things had turned out. So that's just how I feel about
Yeah.
that. But I guess I was kind of debating this on whether or not should I watch season 2 or not. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch season 2, and I just bought the Devil May Cry HD collection that's on the PS4, so I can play those because it's been a while since I played the original first 3 Devil May Cry games. So I'm about to play it on PS4 and stuff. So I'm gonna play that while I watch the
Okay.
show, so I can kind of just so I can be like, all right, well, at least I got this
You could be
instead of
locked
that.
in.
Exactly, or at least I have something good that's coming out of it versus the negative or the bad. But
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely say go and like you're doing, play the Devil May Cry 1 through 3 HD collection. 2 is gonna kind of be hard to get through because I recently
yeah,
replayed 2. If you
yeah,
have a Nintendo Switch, I 100% recommend the Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition on the Switch because you can make Dante switch his styles on the fly, just like how he does in Devil May Cry 4 and 5. So
that's
that's
very cool. I
honestly the
didn't know that.
best way to play Devil May Cry 3. And the anime, the old anime from 2007 by Madhouse, I went back and rewatched the 12 episodes of that. It is kind of boring in some scenes, but it is still cool because it gets all of the characters right. Dante it gets right, Lady and Trish it gets right. Some of the episodes have cool concepts. It just was missing some more action and Devil Trigger, which this new anime gave us, but it also gave us some agenda and some politics that was unnecessary. So that's why I cannot recommend this show to a hardcore Devil May Cry fan or even a newcomer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly just content at this point, really, versus actual substance. Well, some of it can be substance, but it's just content at the end of the day for this. So it's like, all right, consume and enjoy, I guess.
Yeah, just consume product and be ready for the next product.
Right. But I guess this is something, I guess, a window because there was no weird sexuality swaps, no weird gender swaps, no race swaps or anything compared to some of the other shows.
Yeah, I'm glad for that.
With this animation. Yeah, that's why I was like, all right, well, I don't see anything too, like a red flag here. Well, a few things, but not like, oh, okay, like what they did with My Adventures Superman or Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I know that's done by Marvel, but still, or like Voltron. Yeah, although Voltron was cool, but it just it got boring later on with Voltron.
All right. Well, you guys like, comment, subscribe, and follow Jonin Level Fox's channel as well. And we will see you next time.
All right. Take care.
She don't wanna be saved, don't save her. 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 She don't wanna be saved.